but no Force of Will or otherwise counterspells. We see Probe, Ponder, Brainstorm.
Yep, it's interesting that he has 4 Saving Grasp.
Yeah.
That's the real big change. Now, the main thing he does with his Saving Grasp is reset his Snapcaster Mage so that he can, cantrip again, or he resets his Stoneforge Mystic to get another piece of equipment, or he can even go even further. He can use Gilded Drake, Meddling Mage, Jotengrunt. Actually, Gilded Drake's not as effective, but he can use Meddling Mage, Jotengrunt, any of that.
The interesting word, Saving Grasp, target creature you own. It's an unusual word choice for the card.
Oh, so it is brilliant with Gilded Drake.
Ponder on turn 1. Chris Andersen, Elves, has a, looks like a Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor on turn 1, effectively building his own Llanowar Elf.
God, Saving Grasp is so unbelievably hot in this deck. It's interesting, though, with so many blue cards. He's literally got like 24 blue cards.
Yeah.
No Force of Wills, even in his sideboard, though.
You see the Meddling Mage, Gilded Drake, and then the Saving Grasp, and I'm not sure about you, but I'm reminded of Temporary Solution from Extended a few years back. Just that Gilded Drake, Meddling Mage, and in that deck, it ran a Waterfront Bouncer, but I can see Saving Grasp doing some similar things for Craig Wescoe.
Oh yeah, very, very similar style. Only Saving Grasp lets him do it, I guess, like even faster and just more reliably. You don't get shut down by removal. So Chris Andersen,
Priest of Titiana.
With the Priest and Gaia's Cradle. Oh, and now Wireless Symbiote as well.
1 mana still floating.
Andersen looks like he's, if he has anything in his hand, he's going to have access to as much mana as he wants next turn. If he has a Green Sun Zenith or a Glimpse or, basically he definitely needs Glimpse or Green Sun Zenith or Regal Force, but...
We see a Green Sun Zenith, and is that just 3 lands? Forest, fetch land, fetch land?
It is.
Ugh. Well, thankfully that's a Probe and not a Duress or Thoughtseize.
Now, what does Wescoe really have to be able to interact with him besides Meddling Mage?
Umezawa's Jite after an attack gets through, and Swords to Plowshares.
Not a ton of interaction. This is definitely one matchup where he wouldn't mind having the Force of Will, but Engineered Plague out of the sideboard is going to be brutal.
Engineered Plague should be really
Perish,
good.
Too.
Pithing Needle does a very minor thing. It can make sure that the Mirror Entity part of the combo doesn't force a kill, but that's perhaps way after the fact when Chris Andersen can just empty his deck onto the table.
So Wescoe debating what is the best way to try to advance from this position. He needs a Meddling Mage, something fierce. That's not to be.
That is.
He's going to have to just power through it. So what do you think he's going to Green Sun Zenith for here?
Most likely, if nothing else happens, I don't think he has enough mana for Regal Force, or does he?
Oh, and he just drew Glimpse too.
Oh my God! Wow. It might be.
So he does have enough mana for Regal Force.
A Visionary, Elvish Visionary,
right?
would be reasonable.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3. Because he has 3 creatures, so his Cradle's worth 3.
Yep.
So that's 6. Priest makes 7.
I think he's going to get a Visionary
8.
here.
Yeah. Wow, Regal Force only costs 7 though, right?
Right.
He could have made it. So if he taps his 3 land is 3, his Cradle is 3 more is 6, his Priest is
2.
Is 1, which
you're
is
right.
7, and then the Symbiote can untap the Priest
right.
and make 8. He could have got a Regal Force, drew 3 cards, and then had plenty of fuel, but he instead decides to go for the Elvish Visionary and just start drawing some cards with the Symbiote.
Now, Symbiote returning the Visionary gives him an engine here, particularly next turn with a Glimpse. So he gets the card immediately from the Visionary, which unfortunately for him is yet another land.
How many land is he playing? It's not very many, right?
Very few. 17 land, and a lot of them aren't real lands. A lot of them are fetch lands. That's 7 fetch lands.
Interesting.
And we see another Visionary draw.
A vision
Next
is scary.
turn, I think that he wins it, basically. There's a Mirror Entity in his hand now.
What can Wescoe do? He's going to have to shuffle his deck, right? He's got so many Stone Blanks, and he put 2 of them back on top. This is definitely one matchup where...
Wow, does he... Is he not going to fetch? What's on top?
No.
Do you remember what's on top? I don't. Snapcaster Mage for Brainstorm?
Interesting. Is he just hiding it on top? Now you can Vial down Gilded Drake to interact with the combo, which is a start. And if
he casts the Gilded Drake, well,
rather than vialing it down,
he's going to have to take that Wirewood Symbiote. He would love to take something else, but Symbiote does protect it. Chris responding by returning the Elvish Visionary. Goodbye, Symbiote. Here's a Gilded Drake. This is really an exciting little deck that Craig Wescoe is playing.
Absolutely, this is sweet. He may like his little white weenie more than most, but doesn't mean he isn't going to add a little bit of spice and do it a little differently than most. Like this, he's got the white creatures, but this Saving Grasp stuff, so many sweet combos. It's also nice to see the sheer amount of library manipulation he's playing with to be able to set all this up.
Yeah, 12 cantrip-y library manipulation. And now that the Symbiote is gone, he can steal the Priest of Titiana as well. And I think we're going to see him use the Saving Grasp, to return the Gilded Drake once again, just to cut down the mana that the Gaia's Cradle from Chris Andersen produces.
Just taking that Dryad Arbor.
Ooh,
oh, he can't even take it yet. You're right.
He does flashback.
Yeah,
Flashback is white.
Yeah, he can bounce the Gilded Drake, and then in the future he can use the Gilded Drake to steal the Dryad Arbor to cut it even further.
Yep. And goodbye, Drake.
Feel
that was an exciting turn. Holy. Now Chris, with a lot of mana still here, I bet you he's going to still Glimpse.
Yeah, he might win the game this turn.
Yeah. Normally this deck does not operate with this much mana, but normally schmormally. I mean, there's the Glimpse.
Well, it doesn't take very much to get going.
Yeah.
The fact that he already has a Cradle in play, I mean,
he's not.
If he plays Nettle Sentinel, he draws a Heritage Druid here. Like, he's cooking with gas.
Green Sun Zenith there.
It's not bad. It's a little slower than what he'd like, but it's not bad.
Figuring out his first land for the turn. 2 mana. Is it going to be a Visionary?
Yeah, first land. 2 Explore.
Draw, draw. Now remember that Cradle taps per creature, and Dryad Arbor counts. So that is 3 green mana he has access to right now. We might see a Green Suns here for Heritage Druid.
Heritage Druid, definitely an option. Wirewood Symbiote, also on the table. Like, he might want to just get his engine going again. It's tough, though, because he knows that he's facing Gilded Drake. So what's the correct way to play around Gilded Drake? There's also just play Viridian Shaman, destroy one of the vials, and draw a card.
He looks like he's Green Sunning.
Now, he could get Green Sun, go get Heritage Druid, have 1 floating, tap his 3 creatures, and cast Viridian Shaman, keep going, and try to get lucky.
Chris pondering his hand. Not the blue variety, but the literal variety. Back through the deck. Which way will he go? For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Patrick Chapin. This is round 3 of the Legacy Open here for the Star City Games live series in Detroit, Michigan. On the left, Craig Wescoe with an exciting Gilded Drake Saving Grasp White Weenie deck. There's that Heritage Druid from Chris. Kung Fu Bear. And on the right, Chris Andersen with Elves. 1 green mana currently floating, attempting to half go off, I would say, unless he gets really lucky. And in the course of doing so, push over Craig, who can very heavily disrupt him if he's given another opportunity to. There's the Shaman. 1 green, still floating. Oh, my
wow.
goodness.
That was incredible.
Drew's-
That was literally the best possible draw. Where was Symbiote there?
Wirewood Symbiote,
Now it's
so good.
now it doesn't count as an elf for the purposes of Heritage Druid, but it does let him untap one of his other elves and bounce an elf.
He bounces it. Untaps the Triad Arbor.
This way he can tap the Dryad Arbor, cast the Heritage Druid, draw another card, and then tap the Heritage Druid, the Nettle Sentinel, and the Viridian Shaman for 3 more green mana to keep going.
There's Findhorn Elf.
Now if he gets, wow. Now it looks like he's out of gas, but he did commit a ton more to the board, and Wescoe doesn't really have any way to punish him for this in game 1.
And there's
Plus,
a Mirror Entity.
And Glimpse. Next turn, he's almost surely going to win the game on the next turn if Wescoe doesn't have enough meaningful interactions.
Now, Craig, last turn, if you recall, we were saying he doesn't have many ways to interact with his opponent, and then he went ahead and stole 2 creatures. And it certainly looked powerful, but now it looks like it was insufficient.
No, and that's adorable. It's cool. No, it is. It's cute. Like, he played a Gilded Drake, he did a Mondo combo, and then his opponent played a Glimpse of Nature and drew 10 cards. But, we'll see. I'm rooting for him, but it does seem like Wescoe knows that game 1 is the really hard game for him.
Absolutely.
After board, he has Perish and Engineer Plague.
The choice to include Perish in the deck, it's not just for elves. In fact, it's probably just for Maverick, but it exists as a means to do a lot of things. There's a lot of green creatures in this format. So game 2, if he can come back and let's say that we're in this game state and just cast a Perish.
Plus, it's not over game 1. He has another Saving Grasp, so this is a lot of control magics.
Yeah, we're going to see a Heritage Druid go away.
He's given it the old college effort. Interesting that soon he'll start being able to use his Priest of Titania to fuel all this madness. I'm a little bit surprised that he tapped the way he did, instead of using his Priest of Titania to make mana.
He might be thinking about it as a blocker, but I agree overall, just as a general thing, that Priest seems less valuable than mana in Craig's colors. I don't know what, if Chris decides to attack, should he choose to not just, go again with Glimpse?
No,
he does have a Mirror Entity, so even just attacking is actually a lot of damage.
Yeah, if he just goes Glimpse, he doesn't even have to Glimpse. If he just goes Mirror Entity, does he have lethal?
Mirror Entity is very close to lethal, if not lethal.
Yeah, I think it's probably lethal, right?
And that's can do
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Cradle taps for 6, 7.
Oh, that's lethal then. It's a free elf because of the Cradle.
Right. So all of his guys are 7/7s. Like, this is a done data. Craig Wescoe, not really a lot he can do about that without Swords to Plowshares. After sideboarding, though,
here's the team.
Of course, Andersen knows it's a done deal. So Wescoe's going to pick up Perish, Engineer Plague, and Enlightened Tutors too. The 2 Enlightened Tutors serve as additional copies of Engineer Plague.
Yeah, extra copies of Plague. After the Plague are gone, extra copies of Umezawa's Jite.
And it's possible he might even want Path to Exile. I don't know if it's right, but it's another option just to have more interaction, because he's got lots of cards he's going to want to cut.
Craig Wescoe is not going to win by being a beatdown deck.
No, he's going to have to play control.
It's one of the things that decks do all the time is they step outside of the way that they normally operate, because you know what? If they try to go that way, their opponent will just say, yeah, you're not going to do that to me.
So this attack was only for with 5 7/7s. So Wescoe was able to throw 3 chump blockers in the way and drop to 1.
Wow. Still alive.
However,
looks pretty.
Game 1, he doesn't really have any meaningful way to catch up.
Looks pretty ill.
So here, the first thing, he's going to have to steal that Mirror Entity, right, with Gilded Drake?
And then from there, where does he go?
Hope for a player error from Andersen that allows Swords to Plowshares to somehow be enough.
There you go. Chris, have this.
Because he has Plow, Snapcaster, Plow.
Yeah, there's that. for those of you wondering exactly what's going on in Craig Wescoe's side of the board, those are not his Mirror Entity and Heritage Druid. No, he has been Gilded Drake tricking, stealing Chris's cards away from him.
So now this lives again. If he goes Plow, Snapcaster, Plow, he can chump with all his guys, or not chump, but trade with all his guys, because Andersen did not play Glimpse pre-combat to get the Nettle Sentinel in there. That was the mistake.
Wow.
I realize normally it's weird to play Glimpse when you have no creatures in your hand, but the extra 2 damage would have killed Wescoe from this position.
We see a Plow. Plow is going to hit the Gilded Drake. Snappy.
Andersen realizes at this point the mistake he's made. It'd be nice if there was a way for Wescoe to be able to keep that Mirror Entity. But, is he still 1 short?
What if he plows his own Snapcaster?
Right, that's what he's going to have to do.
And there's the plow on his own Snapcaster.
Yep. If only Andersen attacked with Nettle Sentinel also.
And here we have Craig going up to 3 and then back down to 1. Craig fighting like the Dickens.
I think that's it.
I don't know that he can do anything else here.
He has another Snapcaster. So he's at least... does he have a Gilded Drake too?
Yeah.
So, like, he can Snapcaster and Ponder, looking for, I guess, something? I mean, there's Plow.
Meddling Mage and Plow.
So, if he plows and has Snapcaster Mage, he can at least live through the turn again.
He is just fighting here.
Yep, that mistake on Andersen's part. You can't let a dude like Craig Wescoe, you cannot let that man walk away still breathing, even for, like just a moment.
I mean, Craig Wescoe has been, let's say, not to borrow a term, innovating since at least 1999, if not earlier. And when someone has, a good 13 years of Magic just creativity under their belt, as well as a reasonable Pro Tour success, you really have to give that some respect.
I mean, he definitely has a different deck building method than he used 13 years ago, but these days he's really found a formula that works for him, just playing White Weenie all of the time, and variations of it.
Yeah. Here we've got potentially 4 attackers. Inside the attack step, Gilded Drake, before the attackers are declared, cuts on in.
Now this gives Wescoe a creature that can actually block and live. So that now there's 3 attackers. If the Nettle Sentinel blocks the Elvish Visionary, the Snapcaster Mage blocks the Nettle Sentinel blocks the Dryad Arbor. Either way, Snapcaster Mage trades with 1 and Plow hits the other.
But then what does he do to survive his own Gilded Drake next turn? Does he have another Saving Grasp in the yard or no? Because we know on top of his library is a Meddling Mage.
Yeah, this seems like a very short-term solution. He does not have another Saving Grasp, and he knows there's Meddling Mage on top of his deck. He realizes the mistake he's made. He packs his cards in. Tragic.
I mean, he put up a heck of a fight there.
Absolutely.
Okay, to the sideboard. As you were saying, there is some real value in Enlightened Tutor here to get more of the other sideboard cards. Engineered Plague and Perish are 2 of the black-colored cards he's going to be using here. He has a single Swamp and an Underground Sea in his sideboard as well, so those are going to come in. And that black...
Path to Exile, I think, is also another option, too.
Yeah. I mean, Path to Exile, yes, you are not, you're losing card advantage, but getting rid of an incredibly powerful card to give your opponent a forest is not a huge problem for Craig, I don't think.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to shave victory conditions quite a bit, because the way he's really going to win is going long. He's going to Gilded Drake, control magic so many creatures.
Yep.
Or he'll lock his opponent out with Meddling Mage.
Yep. Stoneforge Mystic getting a Jite, it's not going to be about him beating down. It's going to be about him tearing apart his opponent's board.
Yeah, so I think Mother of Runes, Jotun Grunt, potentially even some amount of Stoneforge Mystic. So many of these cards can be trimmed to make room for more controlling elements. On the other side of it, though, Chris Andersen, he might not be expecting Engineer Plague and Perish. He didn't see any black mana.
I would not at all be expecting those cards unless I, for some reason, had talked with Craig and knew that Craig had a plan like that.
Now, that said, he might just be bringing the Kasali Pride Mage in the dark anyway against unknown opponent, against an opponent who's playing something that you don't necessarily know what it's going to be for.
Scavenging Ooze isn't terrible as a means to make the Snapcaster less good.
Possible.
It's not exciting, but not terrible.
Also, throw in a bear with this. Probably not worth disrupting his core engine, but it is an option with how many spells Wescoe tries to cast. I imagine he's not going to want it though. It's probably more of an anti-combo card.
Yeah. One of the problems when you have a deck, any of these decks that work on a linear strategy, whether it's Affinity, whether it's a deck like this, Elves, if you sideboard your deck too much, the natural power of your synergies starts to collapse. And I know this is a mistake that I've made in the past, and I know many other excellent people. I'm not calling myself an excellent people, but these people who are excellent, like say as V. Mauschwitz, has talked about how in certain moments he was realizing, oh, I'm sideboarding so much, gee, my deck doesn't do what it was supposed to do anymore. And it's a lesson to really remember that even if you have, let's say, 10 cards to bring in, sometimes 10 cards is too many cards.
It's like the Belcher player, was it, at the SCG Open just a couple weeks ago? Shows up with 15 islands in his sideboard, and he actually, top 8s, and it's like, what's your secret to success? Well, when my sideboard's 15 islands, I'm not tempted to mess up the main deck.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That's very, very different than the Vanity sideboard card. I recall a player from Wisconsin, one of our Wisconsin state champs, beating Bob Maher with one Grizzly Bear in his mono red deck sideboard because he was like, I only need 14 cards.
Yeah, that's like Josh Ledyka with Violent Ultimatum in his white weenie deck, in his Kithkin deck, because, who needs the extra sideboard?
Right? It's just Vanity there. 15 islands, on the other hand, in that Belcher board, that is an attempt to say, don't do anything.
That's sending a very strong message.
Don't do it.
So, what do you like? What do you think in this matchup? Who do you like after boarding?
I still like Chris. I think we've got 2 games going here, and I don't think Craig is going to get much better than, let's say, 55 or 60%. Just kind of in rough numbers. That's a guess in a big way. But even if he goes 55, 60%, that still means that he is a 2-to-1 dog in the full match.
So I think he's actually got chances to pull it out, though. I think that Perish and Engineer Plague and Enlightened Tutor are going to be such a big game, particularly with Meddling Mage's ability to shut off Glimpse of Nature. I think Wescoe's going to take the match 2-1.
Interesting. I would have no problem with that.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close because Chris can just win out of nowhere. Chris might win next turn.
Which forest is that? That is a gorgeous looking forest.
Oh, absolutely. Was that the Arena Forest?
That's a nice forest.
Absolutely.
I actually have a lot of respect there for Craig's island.
It's either APAC or Arena. I can't tell from here.
That is, on the other side, a nice island. Not my favorite island from that set, but still a very good one. Craig fetches with his Flooded Strand, getting, there we are, a Tundra, not showing his black mana yet, waiting until the appropriate moment. Ponder on turn 1 from Craig is matched by Llanowar from Chris Andersen on turn 1.
And I think we're going to see a Meddling Mage and just name Glimpse of Nature. Get this under control. Slow it down.
Look at that. There's the real Meddling Mage, Chris Pakula. And
love it.
A note to any of you Wizards of the Coast art directors out there, please make sure that if you make invitational cards and reprint them, that you still give us the invitational player on the card. That would be nice. I know we don't have invitationals anymore, but we do have those cards in the mix, and Jens Thorin does not look like the new Solemn Simulacrum, and Chris Pakula has not changed that radically.
Let's change a little bit.
Oh, not that much, though.
No, I still think it's the other Meddling Mage. Isn't there a third Meddling Mage?
There is a third one.
The Grizzly guy?
That actually might be an accurate representation of Chris these days. And we have a Findhorn Elf and an Elvish Visionary.
Papa Pakula. Listening to his death metal.
I actually think when we were talking about Pakula and Nicole Bolas yesterday, you're right, that Pakula did get hit by the creature Nicole Bolas, and then, oh, so you lost, right?
No, I cast Necrobones.
That's right.
7 cards.
I think Pakula might be the danger of cool plays guy. Someone always makes the cool play against him, and then Pakula wins.
So Wescoe.
Umezawa's Jite.
Yet another card Wescoe has that Andersen cannot beat. Now, he's probably got a Viridian Shaman still in his deck, and Kasali Pride Mage might be making an appearance as well. But either way, the Meddling Mage on Glimpse is just a total nightmare. He has almost no way to meaningfully interact with that.
There are the Jedi mind trick Craig Wescoe into blocking and have some sort of I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something and I can't.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see him go Green Sun Zenith for 4. I'm going to go get my Huntmaster of the Fells. Huntmaster of the Fells would ruin Wescoe if you didn't path it or plow it or perish it or anything else. Or Gilded Drake. Oh God, Gilded Drake. Okay, maybe that's the wrong way. No, I think Meddling Mage is just going to be too hard for Chris Andersen. The combination of Meddling Mage, Engineered Plague, Perish, Enlightened Tutor, Jite. He has so many unbeatable elements, so much library manipulation to set them up. As long as Andersen doesn't turn 2 him or turn 3 him sometimes. I mean, next game is going to be the tough game though because Andersen will be the one on the play. Andersen might have won this game on the play if he had that Glimpse in his hand and was on the play, you know.
Or as you noted, there was very little reason to not cast that Glimpse game 1 before the attack just to get the 2/2 Nettle Sentinel up. I mean, obviously Chris still won that. Andersen, a great player here, but these can be very close games. Craig almost dug out.
Absolutely. It's definitely a game of inches.
And he's going to have more weapons this second match.
It's going to be
more than Chris bringing in.
And it's going to be a little bit more blowout-centric after sideboarding just because of the fact that so many of Wescoe's plays are just unbeatable. Andersen has to go balls to the wall, total, hyperspeed.
And it's worth remembering, too, that in Legacy, the Hosers, they don't mess around in these old cards.
No. All right, Gloom. All of your spells cost 3 more.
Wait a second. You mean I can't play anything?
Well, also, all of your Circles of Protection cost 3 more to use.
Wait a second. I can't. Oh, my God. And there we have Chris Andersen sees the card that Craig had hiding in his deck, the Underground Sea.
I love
Oh, my God.
Plague Wind for 3.
Oh, look at that. Is that a Dryad Arbor that's going away as well? Is that 7 cards? Gristlebrand you.
Is this good?
Actually, I think, for those of you who have wondered if Nicole Bolas is any good, it was almost like Nicole Bolas just ultimated Chris there.
This is definitely...
Oh, and go.
And he has to wait because he can't even advance right now because he'll just put the Jite on the Meddling Mage and get busy. He's going to have to wait one more turn, hope he draws a land, Green Sun Zenith, get Viridian Shaman, destroy the Jite, hope the Wescoe has nothing for a long time and just start inching his way back in.
Craig with 5 cards in hand. Was it 6? No, 5 cards in hand. That Aether Vial that does not look too exciting can easily be gotten rid of by Brainstorm.
Wescoe, brainstorming again.
Yay!
Wescoe's deck is sweet. You're gonna have to ask him at some point, what's the origin of this deck? You know, where did this come from? Did he make this? Is he part of a group of people who made this? Is this from the interwebs?
I predict he will tell you that it was largely something he's had kind of in his head as a brainstorm because of Gristlebrand's existence. That's my guess.
Grizzlebrand's existence? Because of what? Just being able to steal Grizzlebrand?
Yeah, the 4 main deck Drake, it just seems like it's
the Saving Grasp having that different wording than any of the other bounce spells.
Right.
Very interesting with Gilded Drake.
The word owner happens so rarely. Brand, not very many cards say owner on them.
Well, no. If you're bouncing, all the bounce does.
Oh yeah, good point.
Right, it's more about the fact that it's not target creature you control, it's target creature you own, right?
Yes.
So, Chris Andersen, in dire straits. I mean, I guess, so the plan is play a land, Green Sun Zenith, Viridian Shaman, Shaman destroy the Jite, then drop a Mirror Entity, and just try to power through it. Meanwhile, Wescoe's looking at 4 cards per turn. I'm not, you know, if I were a betting man, and I'm not saying I'm not, I think I would lay hundreds to 1 on Wescoe winning this one. Wescoe taking a look at his opponent's hand.
What you got over there? Glimpse? Well, that's cool. I've got a meddling mage. What else you got over there? Elves? Well, I've got a Jite.
Meddling Mage on Glimpse, fully armed with a Jite at their vial on 1. Wescoe stockpiling a hand, trying to find what are the corner cases where Andersen could actually realistically interact. Wescoe removes he's going to remove some number of counters because at this point he just wants to get the damage in case Andersen destroys the Jite. He knows that as long as the Jite is sitting on the table, there's not really a lot Chris can do. Wescoe drops a Stoneforge Mystic, because why not? Let's just keep it going.
You know, I am not certain how much time there is that's left this round, but, you know, at least he's cutting into 22 minutes left. At least he's cutting into the time he's taking up.
So, Wescoe takes game 2. The Meddling Mage on Glimpse grinds Chris to a halt. Jite removes any possible counterplay after a Perish sweeps the board. A devastating series of haymakers from Craig Wescoe.
Back now to the sideboard. Does Chris Andersen change anything? If he didn't have Kasali Pride Mage, does that change? He didn't see anything that would be surprising. The Umezawa's Jite was a card he would have expected. Is this just a verification that he needs a second artifact kill?
I mean, it's not clear. He doesn't know that Craig has Engineer Plague yet.
Yeah, that's all he knows is just that...
he was probably anticipating Jite. What he might not be, what he might have not been fully conscious of was the presence Meddling Mage would have, and I don't think Mortar Pod is the best way to try to fight that. But you never know. He might decide to Mortar Pod. Man, it's too bad he can't like Thornscape Battle Mage or something.
You know, with Invasion block as a part of the Magic Online 10th anniversary stuff, I have been playing more Thornscape Battle Mages recently than I have in a very, very long time. It feels good to double kick that thing.
Yes! Destroy something, kill something else with damage.
Yep.
And it's a green card. It doesn't even feel like green should be able to do all that business.
A purist like Jamie Wakefield would say, that's not green.
But you know what? That's like straight up green's color pie. Unyaro Beasting, you know, Naturalize, all that.
So, yesterday you reminded me of the name of the red-white-blue combo. Raka. And I just had to look it up because I couldn't remember the rest of them.
You
and then I was
Anna,
like,
Sita,
oh,
Dega,
yeah.
Necra?
I had forgotten the names of the Invasion block disciples. Anna, I guess, would be, if I were to have an affiliation in Magic, I would be an Anna mage.
You sure you're not just Simic?
You know, I'm pretty Simic.
If you're 3, if you're a wedge, it's probably Anna.
Yeah,
though, right?
I'm an Anna wedge. Which is weird because red is another favorite of mine.
I think an awful lot of people are probably just going to keep using the terms rug and bug.
Bug.
Right, yeah, rug and bug instead of Sita and Anna.
Yeah.
However...
and USA.
Oh, Croesus, yeah, absolutely, from Grixis, represent. No, just on the invasion topic. Alright, so game 2 starts. Andersen leads off with a Forest and a Llanowar Elf. Wescoe playing a Tundra and a Nether Vial. Andersen drops Gaia's Cradle, deciding what to do now to advance. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes Glimpse for value here, because of, you know, just being scared of Meddling Mage. And you never know, depending on the right cards, I mean, he could win this turn. So, Findorn Elf, casts Llanowar Elf, draws a card. He's looking for Nettle Sentinel and Heritage Druid. So 2 more. Casts Birchlower Ranger, draws another card. We see a Wirewood Symbiote, draws another card. So now he makes the mana from his Birchgore Ranger, then uses Wirewood Symbiote to bounce the Birchgore Ranger, untapping the Findorn Elf that is not summoning sick. Now this is where taps the Findorn Elf to cast Birchgore Ranger. Or not, he doesn't even tap the Findorn Elf, he uses the floating mana. So now he has none in his pool. But he can still cast, he can tap Findorn Elf to cast Heritage Druid. Unfortunately, he didn't draw a Nettle Sentinel, so he's gonna have to stop eventually. But what do you think about Andersen not playing Summoner's Pact?
I talked with Chris about that 2 weeks ago, asking him how he felt about it, and he said that there is a surprising amount of ways in which you can actually lose with Summoner's Pact. He has played it in the past and tried it out, but he's moved away from it. I know that Matt Sperling swears by Summoner's Pact and Green Sun Zenith, but Chris says he's tried it and just doesn't like it.
So another Llanowar Elf comes down, the Birchgore Ranger and the Elf tapping to cast a Symbiote. Now the Symbiote's going to tap the Findorn Elf once again that isn't summoning sick, bouncing the Llanowar Elf. This gives him another mana and one last draw. Not a bad little turn two. The nice thing is that he's so far, like, Wescoe on the draw is at least another turn away before he can Engineer Plague or Perish. He's going to have to put up some kind of a fight. Andersen has access to an incredible amount of mana next turn and has another Glimpse in hand. Wescoe really needs to play Meddling Mage on Glimpse right now.
I mean, I think that is the only possible path that Craig can have is Meddling Mage. I don't think anything else will do it for him.
Right, he's too far behind at this point. He needs to play Meddling Mage, and it has to be another Glimpse. The problem is he may just name Green Sun Zenith because he's already seen one Glimpse, and a Green Sun Zenith would also beat him. However, it just so happens Andersen has another Glimpse in hand.
We'll have to see what.
This is where Wescoe's going to have to open up Chris Andersen's soul and peer into it.
According to Randy Bueller, this if Craig Wescoe can channel the energy of Curtis Hahn, he'll be able to do that.
Oh yeah?
Well, in Bueller's coverage of a Grand Prix, that's what he said about Curtis Hahn, which I found very amusing. Kurt would later say, I don't know, I was just looking at his face because I didn't know where else to look.
Sure.
There we go. What are you naming with your Meddling Mage?
Is it Glimpse or is it Green Sun Zenith? Glimpse or Green Sun Zenith? It's also possible that he names Glimpse just because he doesn't know how many Green Sun Zeniths are in Andersen's deck.
Waiting for word from our director and the table judge.
Well, I think the first thing we're going to see the first thing we're going to see is a Glimpse.
Mirror Entity, and I think we might have seen the end of the game now.
This is going to be a really big turn. Now, because Mirror Entity was named, he's not going to be able to actually end the game. He's just going to be able to put all of his cards in play and draw lots of cards. Like, he doesn't have any way to win right now.
Yeah, his only method of winning is waiting a turn and attacking, because the Mirror Entity as a path to victory would be, who needs to wait? I'll just make everything huge, and whatever I already had will do the work.
Yep. But Wescoe, because he has access to Perish, can come back from any of these situations. The key is going to be Andersen not only committing a board that can kill Wescoe in one hit, but having enough cards in his hand to be able to finish the job. Wescoe certainly not in the worst position, considering. So, Andersen debating how long can he go before he taps that Cradle. How greedy can he get?
Okay, there we go. There's the
Time
choice.
to cash it in.
1, 2, 6, 9 mana.
This is going to be a Regal Force, right?
That is a Green Suns.
Yeah, he's green sunning for Regal Force with one in the pool, I would imagine.
And we see a die put out there. Perhaps for Craig to keep up with the mana. Or perhaps he's even gifting it to Chris.
There's the Regal Force. So, even though Andersen down to only 1 mana, he does have Birchgore Ranger, which effectively gives his guys half haste, He has Heritage Druids, so that if he can get up to 3, he can make lots of Black Lotuses. And he has those 2 Wirewood Symbiotes, which will allow him 2 more draws effectively, and 2 untaps, which is effectively 2 more mana. All he has to do now is find a Nettle Sentinel, and he'll be on high gear. And if he can get 2 Nettle Sentinels, he's essentially won. Well, not one, but he has access to as much as he wants.
And as Patrick was saying earlier, he can't actually commit to a kill because the mirror entity being named by Meddling Mage means Chris will have to wait a full turn, and that gives Craig a window. So Chris is going to need to make sure he has some sort of backup so that he can re-empty the hand.
He does have another road to kill in 1 hit. If he can actually just go looping where he gets enough Nettle Sentinels that he can make as much mana as he wants and draw his whole deck, he can just Mortar Pod Wescoe 19 times.
Fair. That's absolutely fair.
Like, it's not out of his range to come up with an extra 38 mana and have 19 creatures to be able to sack.
We see the Nettle Sentinels representing virtually infinite mana. Not quite, but
and at this point, he
feels like it for the most part.
He has 2 glimpses going, so he's going to have to be careful because it's not optional. You have to draw your cards. So there's a limit to how many elves he can actually cast this game. However, I think he's going to have more than enough. The big thing he's got to do is be careful to not mess up his mana, because as long as he hasn't drawn Gaia's Cradle yet, he can sacrifice his Cradle to go get another one to make an incredible amount of mana.
The 1 crop rotation in the deck there specifically for that purpose.
Now he only has 2 Cradles though, so if he ever draws the other Cradle, that option's off. And he might have already drawn it, and that's why he's just going full speed. It might already be too late.
Quirion Ranger. Oh, that's one of my favorite cards of all time.
So at this point, every elf is serving as a Dark Ritual. Spend 1 mana, get 3, plus you draw 2 cards. They're just going to keep snowballing together.
I think usually aren't you supposed to spend 1 mana, get 3 mana, and sack a creature? Isn't that what we do these days?
The limiting resource here is, of course, cards left in Andersen's deck. At this point, he can draw as many cards as he wants and make an incredible amount of mana. The limiting factor is that eventually, he's not going to have any more cards left in his deck, and he's going to have to stop drawing. And he's going to want to save himself a card or 2 at the end so that he can actually attack and potentially attack again if he needs to, unless he is confident that he can actually get a Mortar Pod big enough to finish the job.
Let's say that you think that you can't get a Mortar Pod to win this moment. Do you just leave nothing back and hope that Craig doesn't have the Perish?
Well, remember, he has Green Sun Zenith, so he's never going to get dead.
Right.
As long as he leaves at least 1 card in his deck, he can Green Sun Zenith over and over and over again. Unless Wescoe, resets his Meddling Mage with like a Saving Grasp, so that he can just put it down naming Green Sun. There's the Mortar Pod. Now they're going to settle up on how much mana they actually have. Does Andersen have 38 colorless mana?
He actually, if he goes and kills the Meddling Mage...
Oh yeah, he can just shoot the Meddling Mage twice, put Mirror Entity, and it's a done deal. Although, I don't know, does he have enough untapped guys? Those 2 Symbiotes are pretty big. That's probably the fastest way, though, is to just shoot Meddling Mage twice with Mortar Pod, and then Mirror Entity, and then make his Symbiotes 10/10s. And he's got enough untaps, he can untap some of his other guys that were in play. So they don't even need to get diving. Yeah, I think Andersen's just going to win the game right here. That's what we talked about. If Andersen can win the game with Wescoe having only 2 turns, and Wescoe had a shot if he would have named Glimpse. It's crazy. They just called time in the round, and Elves is the only deck I know of that has 2 and 3 turn games and still goes to time. Outside of Vintage. So at this point, is Andersen's primary way of possibly losing messing up and drawing too many cards as a result of the Glimpse?
I think that's his only way of not winning this one. Is that Tim Ayton there? Yeah, that is Tim Ayton is his germ.
Tim Ayton's Pro Player card getting a lot of love this weekend. Little known fact, but I think Tim Ayton's Pro Player card is the most valuable Pro Player card.
Really?
Because it is the rarest.
Huh. If that's like, that would be very awesome, honestly. There we go. He can't do the Mirror Entity yet. You gotta finish things off. There you go. 1. Equip again. to this Quirion Ranger. 2. Mirror Entity. Draw 2. Make them white mana from the Birchlore Ranger. That's Green Suns. And now he's demonstrating infinite mana with the Mirror Entity, the Wirewood Symbiote. But he can't actually do that without drawing his entire deck, right? So
Oh yeah, you can.
What's the loop?
He has to Green Sun Zenith twice to each. Like he has to keep each time Green Sun Zenith twice to put 2 more Green Sun Zeniths back in his deck.
There we go.
He Mirror Entities, making all of
That's
his
how he
creatures
does
into
it.
elves. Because his Wirewood Symbiote is an elf, the Wirewood Symbiote can bounce itself,
Yes.
resetting its own ability
It's
as many
the-
times as he wants.
The Green Sun Zenith was the missing part for me, and now he's explaining that. Thank you, Patrick. Having the 2 Green Sun Zeniths, you're right, he will never be decked. So that's infinite mana, and now he can attack with a single, or even 2 Nettle Sentinels, which were already in play at the beginning of this turn, and get him for infinite. And did Craig just kind of say, show me?
Absolutely. Wescoe says, all right, you can show me. Not agreeing that it is a bounded loop. It's always interesting seeing the period of discussion that takes place when one player is trying to explain to the other, no, you've lost. It's over. But Wescoe, knowing that the huge number of order of operations means that Chris Andersen could potentially mess this up in a variety of ways. Andersen, though, not exactly his first rodeo. I got a feeling he's going to execute it correctly.
Absolutely. I mean, people have mis-executed their kills in this kind of situation before, and then still gone on to win, say, tournaments. Steve Sadin, I believe, was at the Grand Prix Columbus that he won, was told to execute the kill, and realized he didn't know how to do it. That was his first round of that Legacy Grand Prix, but went on to win it because afterwards he was like, well, I killed him by attacking, and how do I do this again? Someone showed him, and that's all it took.
So it looks like Wescoe finally concedes.
He's like, look at this.
Wow, one turn away.
Oh, Chris Andersen, a little smile.
Impressive.
Even Craig there with a little smile.
Absolutely.
It's like that was the coin flip game, right?
Turn 2 Meddling Mage, turn 3 Engineer Plague would not have been enough because he died on turn 3 through the Meddling Mage.
Wow.